Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, well, my name is Trey. Follow me at Tenacity Dreams. What I'm into is real estate. That's what I'm focusing on. And I'm in the water business right now, so that's about it. That's all about me.
What is Tenacity Dreams?
Tenacity Dreams is basically confident to your better self and actually chasing something beyond just what actually getting to figure out who you are and tackling all the obstacles, getting over every single humps that comes your way. You know what I mean? You gotta chase it. You gotta continue going. So if you know what the word tenacity is, it's like you don't give up.
You know saying persistence and all.
Very persistent. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Alex, on Instagram, you can find me on No Status Capo. Capo is the alias. Capo is the name I assume my identity under. Capo is basically almost an agent of chaos. Like I just speak my thoughts. I read my thoughts. I like to communicate. I focus a lot on communication. Thinking outside the box. I familiarize myself. I fall in love with the idea of freedom and its constraints. I know it's a paradox, but it is what it is.
Freedom is a paradox.
But yeah, I like to write. I'm more of a poet. If anything, is something that identifies. I write a lot of poetry.
Nice.
I speak with a lot of metaphors and similes. That's about it.
So, Travis, known by Squid the Barber, I'm the co-founder of Quantum Field Studios, short for QF. Partnered with this gentleman right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Okay, so Squid the Barber, there's a lot I can go into. Right, it's a long story. But Squid the Barber came up when I first started to get into the game of barbering in Montreal. I literally drove up here from the States. It was a long journey before I got here. We'll get into that some more. But when I got here, I had like a little eye infection, but I was able to, and it caused me to be able to squint too. Like while I was learning how to cut hair, I was squinting the whole time and I was struggling trying to cut hair. And the guys used to watch me, but I was still able to give out good haircuts, so they called me Squint. They're like, "Yo, Squint!" It's like this Caribbean dude named Orlando. He was sitting next to me, cutting next to me, and he was calling me all the time every time I came in the shop. So it just stuck on me, and I was like, all right. I might do a laser down the line.
That's kind of flu game. Like you're out here cutting hair.
Yeah.
With an injury.
Yeah.
And you just find a way.
Yeah, I had to find a way, man. I had to find a way.
That's very bold.
Yeah.
The audacity of it.
And people let you cut their hair.
I was doing something right because I still getting the haircuts. So I was like, oh, shit. Yeah.
That's good. Pretty much, let me introduce myself. My name is Maalik. I go by the name of Stillness as my handle on my social accounts. Stillness because I have a past of overcoming anxiety and depression. And the main lesson that I learned to kind of overcome or, have a better chance at being triumphant in that whole journey was to live in the present moment. I learned that from the book, I think it was The Power of Now, or I think it was 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And I think one of the sentences he was saying something about stillness and how to focus on the now because you're void of your anxieties, which is your anticipation of the future, and the past, which is depression, because you're kind of like not living, you're living almost in the past, so past recollections, you know what I mean? So I made an IG, I was like, yo, stillness, I don't know, the name didn't roll off the tongue or anything, but I just like, I don't give a shit, I'm stillness, you know what I'm saying? I want to be like still, I want to be like more composed, think before I speak, things of that nature. So I want to represent somebody who kind of, looks at mental health and understands that it's a true and a serious topic that many people deal with, but you could get over it and you could make something beautiful from yourself from it. The topic is, what do you subscribe to and what is your perspective on life? But like in that statement, there's so many like ways to put it. So I don't want to like narrow your thinking. It's very broad in this term, you know what I mean? So it's like however your mind interprets that, like I would like to have a discussion because I'm big on like the whole religion topic, or you know what I mean, anything that's kind of like limiting. I hate to put any like limiting title under me, because then I feel like I have to be in this box, and it's like that in itself kind of irritates me.
Yeah. Because something for me that I resonate with that question a lot, just because like they were what I subscribe to. It really depends on you as growing up as a child, having a father figure, a mother in your life, and they're able to kind of motivate you, or not really motivate. They're your idols in the beginning, right? So for me, what I subscribed to,
Almost like
it
the
was a
first
different,
heroes.
they're the heroes, you know what I mean, in the beginning of your life. So for me, it changed a lot because I didn't have a father growing up. My dad was not present. My real dad wasn't present, but I was able to have a stepfather. But we had an interesting, weird kind of relationship because we were different. We were different backgrounds, and it was just me growing up. Over time, I started to see that we had a lot of, we saw things a little bit differently, and it was very confusing for me to kind of take that step on what I subscribe to. What I should be as a man, because I had a lot of challenges I had to deal with, a lot of things I had to see growing up that I shouldn't have seen. It was a neighborhood I was into as well that made me kind of think about all the decisions I made in my life. But it was just like one of the things that made me really subscribe to something at first was religion. It was something that was always told to me about. I was a Christian when I was growing up. That was a big thing for me when I started. It was what can I learn about Jesus to help me be able to lead in my life at the beginning. Like when it came to any type of life challenges and stuff like that, I try to use the Bible to the best of my ability in the real world. It didn't always work out for me. I didn't always have the
Definitely
best.
didn't always work out.
You know what I mean? At all. Like there's a lot we can go on with that. But
I feel.
it's like,
Did you feel like empowered though? Like saying,
I felt empowered.
I got Jesus that has my back.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I did feel empowered because you're part of a group. You're a part of a group of people that all agree, on the same thing.
So it's a community.
It's a community of people that all agree with, what you believe in. This is not. You all have the same beliefs,
Yeah.
There are 1,000 different other beliefs and communities in their own religion. But for me at the time, growing up young, was something where I felt like, okay, I had the right answers. You know what I mean?
So, being that you were young, was Christianity the first, I guess, religion or concept that you were introduced to?
It was the
And
first
did
one.
you feel like you latched onto it just because you were young and you were introduced to something new? You know what I mean?
It was the first thing I was introduced to. Something that was always. I mean, I got growing up, I got beat, not saying the right thing or understanding Jesus the way I wanted to perceive who that God was. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it was something that was literally, I can say forced. It was put on me, right? I didn't want to go to church all the time. I didn't want to go do this. I didn't want to read this book. I didn't want to do Bible study or be around kids that weren't from my neighborhood. And they just had a different mentality. But that's something I had to do. I just had to do it. So eventually, it engraved me over time, and it became something I was subscribed to.
And it became your routine, right?
Yeah.
I think that's mainly what it is, bro.
Yeah.
I remember too, when I was younger, I had Bible studies every Saturday morning. So it was like Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, I want to be up.
Yeah.
Back in the days, I used to get up at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, you're waking me up for Bible studies? And me and Troy were just there at the table. I'm falling asleep, bro. I'm falling asleep, and it's like, I knew maybe this is something I should learn, but I know my body, soul, mind, everything. I don't want to be here, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like almost like when you're young, you don't know what you don't know, and the thought of being wrong actually scared me. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it was a weird thing.
What if I'm wrong and there is a hell?
Yeah.
And it's like that fear is like, okay, well, let me just believe in it just in case.
One thing I can definitely say is when I was subscribed to that the whole time, I always had unanswered, like I always had questions that were unanswered through the entire process. But you had to. But what was difficult about gaining the right perspective with what I was subscribed to was what I was dealing with at the time. It was hard to come out of what I believed in because of what I was seeing in the neighborhoods. It was like, damn, ambulance here, police here, someone died here. You know, if you don't do this, you could end up here. Like everywhere, any type of situation. You know, when it came to sports, when I was playing ball, it was like, yo, if you don't do this, you know where you're gonna end up. You know what I mean? That was the thing in the neighborhood. You know, the guys, coaches would always take all the black dudes aside, and he would tell us, you know, like all the white guys over here, black guys over here. He's like, yo, you guys know what this means to us. You know, he instilled the like, damn, like shit, like we already like we don't. If we don't get to where we need to get to with the sport we're playing, like we know where we're gonna go. Like psychologically, you know what I mean? Like
It's like that fear based.
yeah. But having said all those things together, it's like you feel like damn, like the only thing good is believing in that. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that's gonna get you out of it. You know, so
Honestly, religion never really bothered me. I had Bible studies. I did go to church. I did all that horseplay stuff. It was really just something I had to do. So me, if I have to do something, and I'm using have to do loosely, I was forced to do it. I was like, as a kid to a parent, you don't really have much control over your dynamics, right? So like if mom's putting you in the car to go to such and such, you're going in the car because the alternative is what? Homelessness? Right? So like I say have to, but I chose not to be homeless and adhere to the rules of the house. At the same time, so like, okay, so I'm there, so what am I doing here? So to me, I'm big on moments, right? So I'm here, I have to maximize this moment, so I'm listening to what the teacher is saying, the preacher is saying, such and such. And not for nothing, my mom used to read me a lot of bedtime stories growing up, and one of the biggest, still is one of my favorite books is my Bible stories. And she used to read that religiously before going to bed. I used to read all these different stories, and not for nothing, like I didn't associate that to God or religion. It's more I really love the story. I really love what they were telling me. I really love the lessons that they were trying to impose. And actually, having this conversation right now, I just realized like early on, I was like the devil's advocate. So like if you read me a story, I'm not cheering for the hero, I'm cheering for the villain because I'm trying to understand why they're like this. Right? Because everybody has the truth, right? So every hero believes in what they believe in, but so does each villain, right? So now if I believe in what the villain believes in, to me he's a hero. Yeah. And the hero, the perceptive hero, is the villain. So I take on every stories on that. I understand what the force feeding you what the hero believes in and what their understanding of right and wrong is.
It's like they're giving you a perspective.
Yeah. So to me, if I'm to understand the entire story, I have to understand each character. So even though information are presented, I have to kind of relate to how they have the conversation, what the direction is from the villain and such. And I started kind of following villains because I want to understand why they became villains and similar to your stories, like you had to go through some stuff. Yeah. Whereas you became this version of yourself. Whereas should you have become another version of yourself, I don't believe you're wrong. You just made an interpretation and you wanted to survive. At the end of the day, you wanted to live in your truth, so your truth could be something else. Yeah. And that is what I what was the question? Or
what do you subscribe to?
What do I subscribe to? I subscribe to perspective. I subscribe to everybody sees the world in their own way. I subscribe to like the individual. I want to know who the individual is and how they came to be. Yeah. And it's never right or wrong. It's why. Yeah. And I'm always looking for the why from everybody, and most importantly me, right? Because I don't want to sit down and have a conversation with you and you guys don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. I want you to know who I am. So for me to give you myself, I have to give me myself so I can offer it.
Yeah, no guarantee.
That makes sense. And it's like, it brings me to ask, like, is there even such thing as right or wrong? You know what I mean?
I sincerely don't believe in right or wrong. I do have a moral compass, and there's several things I don't agree with, but I also understand that I see it through the lens of Alex being raised by his mother and father and auntie and uncle and cousins and brother who had their own perspective, who raised me to be a certain way, and I had to be that and fight that at the same time to become who I am right now.
I think what really started the perception for me, to build the right perception for me, was fear. Fear was like, I don't care what anybody says religious, everyone is at fear in some way with religion, in the way of losing your insurance policy, which is going to heaven. Everyone is scared of losing that insurance policy. And I feel like me understanding like fear and playing sports and knowing that you have to conquer fear, this, and that, but like always being afraid of that thing, you know, believing that God loves me, this, and that, and that I have this, and that I'm going to go to heaven regardless. But then every time I make a mistake, there's that fear of losing that policy. And I was just like, you know what? What the fuck is that with this shit? Like, what is this thing? Like, this feeling of losing something that, like, and it doesn't make no sense because this is where, like, a religion really contradicts itself because, like, it's like you were chosen, you know, God, you know, chosen you to be this perfect, you know, person, and once you choose them, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, then why do you have that option of like, you know, this could be, you know what I mean? It's as if like, if you already know if I'm gonna lose it, it's like, why the hell is the point of even like, what does it even matter then? You know what I mean?
That's what I love about religion, though. That
it's so contradicting.
I love the fear aspect
because it's.
But they need it though.
Because it's about, like I said, it's about perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we're the heroes of our stories, and religion is the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Why does religion exist, right? And to me, it seems something in terms of control.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find the means to control a large group of people without having to need to survey them every single time. Mm-hmm. So you want to ingrain in fear, right? Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I wasn't well in history, but to my understanding, like religion was literally beaten to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's negative reinforcement, right? So if you don't want to get whipped, you have to some extent, believe in discernment. And then when you inherit that belief system, your belief is now seen as fact. And now society can exist without worrying about you because they're under certain controls. And if they go out of pocket, the fear is going to slow them down, and then the law steps in.
You know, that kind of makes me think that all of this is just psychology. If you understand the human psyche
and how to control people,
but controlling people is because you understand the human psyche. You know what I mean? It's almost like people inherently have this. Okay, for example, right? Most people are consumers. Most people consume. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to own businesses and offer a service, most people are consumers for a reason. You know what I mean? It's almost like the majority is always at fault in a sense, for lack of a better term, and the minority is always, I guess, empowered. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think religion, even like MLMs, you know, like network marketing companies, it's all based on the same like foundation. Yeah. The masses kind of like have this over cheering type of personality, and they're not really getting too much from their institution, but somehow they have hope, faith, belief, and all these things that keep them going long enough so that they can accept the crumbs and hope for better, but they never better never comes. Mm-hmm. And it's like a loop and a cycle, and the people that's kind of giving them all of this thing to hope for, all of this faith, are the ones that's reaping the benefits. So it's like God, in a sense, is the minority. Yeah. You know what I mean? Society, God is the people that own businesses. Yeah. God is the people that own your basketball teams, all these kind of institutions, and the religious folks are the ones that's consuming it. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it. So I'm like, bro, I don't really like to think in a minimal like manner. I remember this guy said, you gotta activate. This is dope. This is actually dope. This is one of the hype issues I heard. He said, yo, you gotta activate the advanced mechanisms that manipulate the construct. So yeah, real quick. So it's like when he says that, it's almost like you can't think in terms of the 95% who are in a situation. You kind of have to bring yourself out of it, outside of that box, and that way you can advance the mechanisms in you that will manipulate the construct, because now you're not thinking in a minority state, you're in the majority state, you're thinking in the minority state. So you kind of get out of that box, and at that point you realize there's a whole nother world out there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Let me give you some pushback.
Yeah.
So you become part of the 5%, right? So you get out of the majority, right? As you said, there's a psychology to it, right? So now within the majority, you created bonds with a few of the members of the majority, and then you got out, right?
Right.
Now that you're out, those who are still part of the majority become anchors to you. Because how do you get them out without falling back in?
You don't get them out. They have to. It's like.
What do you mean get? Hold on. What do you mean get them out?
Say you have a whole family.
Yeah.
You get out. You find your success. You own your own company. You're making your own money. Now they don't know how you did it, or they don't understand how. They chose not to understand how you did it, but there's still people who are tied to you emotionally.
Okay.
Now, how do you navigate through that realm? Do you start catering to them using your means, or do you continue the pursuit of trying to get them to understand?
I feel like you have to lead. You have to lead by example. Set a foundation that helps benefit everyone to the best of your ability, and then you also have to set your boundaries, because that's something I've been I've had to deal with a lot, since I've been here. But like I feel like boundaries is definitely number one, and then you also have to understand, like just like Snoop said, like friends and family, like a lot of them are gonna have to fill that gap. They have to fill the gap. You got to keep going, because without you, there isn't going to be that level. You know what I mean? You got to be able to keep on, pushing and doing what you're doing, so that so everyone can be uplifted once they're able to fill that gap. But like, I feel like what's important is make sure that if you're going to lead, then try to set a foundation for everyone to be able to benefit from to the best of your ability. I feel like that's the best way to go about it. But like,
I think you gotta let go of any expectations.
That too, yeah.
Because I feel like the majority of time when you feel limited is because that somebody else's limited capacity to think you borrowed that from. You borrowed somebody else's limited capacity to think. So it's like you understand that being part of the 5% or whatever you call it, you're gonna leave some people behind. If I understand your question correctly, you're gonna have people you're tied to emotionally and whatnot, but in a sense, it's something that we all have instilled or ingrained.
Not everybody's gonna make it.
You know what I mean? And it's like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You owe it to yourself,
Yeah.
So it's like
You have to put yourself first.
how you gonna feed your family if you don't put yourself first? Think about it.
How you gonna help anybody?
Your kids, your wife. If I put myself last, that means I'm not doing what it is for me to even provide them anything. You always kind of have to put yourself first. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
like the anchor situation, right?
There's no anchor.
I'm very good at leaving.
Yo, bro, I left
That's
I left home, bro. I literally left fucking
You
Florida.
left home, bro.
Yo, I left the States, man. I came
Came
straight
to
here
Canada.
by myself, bro. Well, actually, I came here with my ex, but
Your
like,
ex
bro,
what?
I came to Canada. Yeah.
Ex what? What is she?
Yeah,
Ex
yeah.
wife.
Well, we ain't gonna get into that right now.
What's the name? I'm saying
That was a chapter in itself. That was a damn
Sure.
chapter in itself, man. But
So
Yeah,
that's
man.
tough. I was wondering how you did it.
everyone, like, I got nothing but love for them. But I left a lot of people back home, and it was tough, bro. It was tough being here, being in a country where it was just.
And you don't know anybody, right?
Don't know nobody. I came here and I was literally on my grandma's couch, man. Like, it was the first place, you know what I mean? And I just try to like make it work from there. The dude I was supposed to come. So I came from, just because people don't really know the situation too well, but I grew up in Orlando, Florida. Like, that was my stomping grounds for a while. I was around the States, I was in Georgia, I was in Houston. I was able to experience a lot of different neighborhoods in the States, but like Florida was my stomping ground. I would say for me, But I got to a point in my life where the best option for me was to be in Canada at the time. It was like it was literally the best option. I was going to join the military, in the States, but I was like, you know what? These motherfuckers are at war every Tuesday, so let me just try it. And then I looked at the benefits, and the benefits were better in Canada. So I was just like, and then you even had a basketball program that I was like, damn, because I was still basketball driven. I was like, I still want to somehow make it to the league, you know? And
Yo, chill. Let me ask you something, bro.
What's up?
Do you think? We're gonna get back into this because I know we had a discussion about this before. Do you think belief holds any merit to one's success?
The word belief I use very loosely.
Use loosely.
Very loosely.
Yeah.
Do you think belief holds any merit to one's success in whatever? Yeah.
First, you gotta believe in yourself.
yeah.
Do you?
That,
Sure.
okay, you gotta believe in yourself. I personally believe in myself. If I don't believe in myself, how would I expect anybody else to even? Well, not me just believe it, just trust that I will be who I said I'm gonna be. You know what I mean? So I start off with that. You know, within yourself. If you don't do that, then you can't even go to the next chapter because you need to fix yourself. There's something that you need to reconstruct so you can be ready to be the person that you need to be to get that job done. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
Like, in this point in my life, you know, I'm 30. I'm about to be 31 December 4th. But like,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, stop it.
but yeah.
Same brother. Same brother.
Okay.
Oh, for real? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, shoot, me, you, and home.
Yeah.
Too.
To tap in on that, like believing in yourself, 1,000%. I agree with that. You have to believe in yourself. You got to know whatever you're putting out is the best. You got to be the best at whatever you're doing, so that you know how to to commit to whatever it is. But commitment. I believe in committing to whatever you're doing. It's gonna bring you to success. Commitment is like when you commit to something, you're willing to do whatever to get to it. You know what I mean? Commitment is everything. That's the best affirmation in my life. It's commitment. Like that's something I know that I do with barbering. Like I'm committed to being the best and to being able to just do something great for the community. I'm committed to just influencing and being a good model for all the younger barbers coming up. I'm committed to mastering everything about my people and becoming a better person every day. Now I'm committed to being wealthy and creating wealth for my family. So like I feel like commitment is what's gonna get you there. Because shit, I'm willing to do anything to get to where I need to get to. Straight. Anybody can feel that. I'll tell you right now, bro. That shit's serious.
I'll let y'all know what I think, and then we can move. I mean, just come across how I think is this, right? This is how I think. I think belief. This is a paradox in itself. Belief is a paradox in itself. Belief is a medium of knowing, right? Before you know something comes belief. But there's also a paradox to that where you would have to know something to believe it. So what I'm saying is this. I think you brought this up to me just the other day too. Our minds literally transcend time. Because if you can think of your past and think of the future, it's almost like your body can't, but your mind can't. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you can bring yourself to foresee something, then you in yourself, what you could become. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If I explain it to you, then you would have to believe it. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this: I don't think belief holds any real tangible, isn't a real aspect to one's success. You know what I mean? Because it's like if I say I believe in myself, it's because I don't know myself. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it. Okay.
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Does belief hold any real merit to one's success?
Does it hold any real merit? It holds merit. Real is perspective. I believe in belief. I think it is a powerful tool and a powerful mechanism, but I do believe that everything has its levels, right? Whereas your level of belief, it I don't want to say caps off, but there's a peak level that's commitment. When you become committed to a belief, And to me, that's where you see that as knowledge, right? Your commitment to your belief becomes knowledge. It equates. And right now we're just kind of using different words to navigate through the same meaning. But my understanding of belief is it's intricate because everything has to start somewhere. And yes, I understand your paradox. But to me, it's like a circle, right? Yes, either it starts at the start line or it starts where the last race finished. But wherever you decide that it started, that is where you're committed to. So to answer your question, yes, belief is intricate. It's just the value you place on it.
Focus literally on there.
I feel as if the major difference between the 5% you spoke of and the 95% is the 95 have hope. Where the 5% believe in their reality and circumstance.
Hey,
I would agree with
I
that.
just done something.
I agree with that.
So okay, no, I hear you, but then it goes to show that almost like hope, faith, and all these kind of things are tools for the incompetent. Religion is a tool for the incompetent.
This is the
The
thing.
tool to control. The 5% has to control the
But this is the thing,
95%.
religion taps into all three things. It taps into the religion taps into all three. It taps into the fear, the belief, and the hope. It needs all three things. A pastor, anybody who's trying to get you to believe in their religion, they need all three things from you so you can subscribe to what they want you to subscribe to.
You need to put
Straight
your
up.
faith in it.
Yeah.
You gotta hope
And
for
faith,
it.
and faith.
You
Four
gotta
things.
feel
Yeah.
it.
We had another number. It went from 2 to
Yo,
3 to
yeah.
4 now.
I forgot about the faith. The faith is it's the faith.
Yeah.
The faith is faith still in the lines of belief?
I guess so.
I think the believer is self-faith.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Yeah,
It's a ladder that you throw in the bucket with the crabs.
Yeah.
Hey, if you climb it, you with us.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta climb it. But in order for you to climb it, you have to beat everybody else in the bucket.
Straight.
Yeah, if God is really definitely playing favorites, I'll tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Last thing before we wrap up.
Why do you say
Yeah.
playing favorites?
Why do I say God is playing favorites?
Yeah.
Well, for one, we study history books and whatnot, ancient Egypt, right? One point, we had the most thriving society, thriving lands, abundant, rich in fruits, abundant, rich in, vitamin D, sun. So,
when you say we, what are you referring to as we?
I'm referring to Egyptians,
Okay.
the Africans.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
The natives of the land.
The natives. Just to clear the air. I don't know if that's my descendants. I just find that history, that kind of culture empowers me because they looked or had the same hue as me. Therefore, I feel like that is something I could be capable of. Just to break that, So, anyways, like I said, if you can recall a time, if you learn about history where you see that the people there were thriving and had the most abundantly rich society everywhere, everybody from everywhere else came to learn from there, right?
Guaranteed.
And this is in the most naturalist state one can be in. You know what I'm saying? From that, I guess people from that native land. You recall people like that being so abundantly rich, and in turn, you look, I don't know how many years later till today, and you see that those people right now are kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and the ones who leached and sucked them dry of their, I guess, resources and whatnot are the ones thriving nowadays, who seem to maybe have the worst spirit, the worst kind of culture, the most devilish kind of behaviors, and they are the ones being rewarded.
Who's they?
I
want to know what you say.
You can look, put two and two together.
I'm not putting 2 and 2 together.
You can just say Western society.
Say what you mean.
Western society.
Western society, Europeans, you can go in it, man. You can go in it.
Because we keep saying they, the people know what
They know
you know what I mean? We don't know what this is. We don't know what this is.
I hear you. You know what I mean?
So they learned from those, the white people.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going. They learned from them. Yes,
Yes.
they did. Yeah, they did learn from them.
So
They just took it in
would
a
you
different
say that
direction.
they mastered the craft and forced the hands of those who are now at the
I don't want to
bottom?
say master craft because like something good comes out of mastering something, and a lot of bad has come out. A lot of bad and good has come out, but like I'm talking about for like if I want to go in one category, talking about Earth's sake, nothing's good has come out of what's happened since from that time.
But again, it falls to perspective, right? So if they're serving themselves and this is the reality that they want, and they took the formula from the wise ones who were sharing it, what seems to be carelessly because it seems like it gave it to their enemies or
Yeah.
soon to become enemies, and now there's like a disorder. At what point does that community take accountability for what they gave away?
It should always be accountability.
It's like this is the thing, man. Like you could, because you're talking about a lot of things that happened during that time, and I feel like you can gain the information you want to gain, but like you also have the free will to do what you want to do. You have the choice to do what you want to do with what you've learned. You know what I mean? And I feel like those are the things that need to be taken accountability for. It's not so much of. It's just like as if I learned, the advanced barber systems. I took the course, this, and that. And then I do the worst things with it, you know what I mean, in their eyes or whatever like that. I just completely destroy it. I had the choice to, to lead in that way after learning what I learned. It doesn't mean that what they gave me, they're at fault. You know what I mean? It's just like we all have to take accountability when like things are, when people are being affected in a negative way when you learn something. You know what I mean?
And like I said, you look at the people from those times, and they seem to be the ones at the bottom of the barrel nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I said God played favorites, and it's because why is the ones with the kindest hearts, or the ones who are so willing to give and educate, and I guess live off of Ma'at, which is a lot of love and balance and peace. And then in turn, you see it nowadays, and those are the ones that's kind of being punished in a sense. And then we're told to be like, okay, well, look, you got to keep this same heart because you're going to be rewarded once you die, but don't worry about it. Them being rewarded now is only punishment for them later. And it's going to make me a little bit more passive, and now I'm going to kind of look at it like, well, this is meant to be happening, so then in turn, I'm going to be maybe a little bit less fortunate in this realm of existence. I kind of be okay with it.
So do you think that after you die that all this is actually all you?
I don't know what happened.
You don't know what happened, right?
I have no idea.
Has any of you guys went through a near-death experience?
Not to memory.
I mean, for me, no, not to that extent. There was
Yes,
many
but
points
not to
where
memory.
Okay.
I have, and it was very welcoming. As scary as that sounds, it was like, not saying that I seen a light, but I was good. Yeah, it was warm.
You were at peace with it?
It was scary, but then when I was at peace with whatever my outcome may be, whether I'm living to see tomorrow or not, I was okay. And once my body understood that, I don't know what happened. It was just a welcoming, warm feeling as if it's okay. Whatever happened in your life, it's okay. You know what I mean? So I never went through the hole to see everything because I'm still here, but it was
How did that change you to this day?
yeah, I appreciate every single day. To be honest with you, I try not to get mad because like there's no need. You know what I mean? It's like just live the best day that you can. You never know what tomorrow brings, and who cares what happened 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love that.
How do you try not to get mad?
So when I was going through that moment of at peace, if I pass away right now or not, I was thinking about all the times that, I was mad and that didn't change anything. It was either hurting the person in front of me, around me, or whatever, but if I just take the chance to, speak to whoever I was with in a kindly manner and actually resolve it, it would have been okay. So I was, how can I explain it? Because going through that near death is just makes you subtle and really get into your emotions, and because you're scared, you don't want to die, you don't really want to die, but if it comes down to it, we all are really gonna die, right? So that little split of at peace that I had was very useful. That at peace was like, yo, it's okay. You know what I mean? So that piece left with me as well. So I was thankful that I'm still here today to have this conversation just in general, right? So that piece is still with me. So I'm not arguing right now, right? Big mad at you. At the end of the day, you're my brother. You know what I mean? And let's say you're gone tomorrow. I don't know how my peace will be at that point. You know what I mean? So I try to like cherish every single moment because you never know when that time comes. I'm not saying treat everybody like this. So I'm trying to say the ones that actually matter to you. You know what I mean?
So would you say it's the anger or your reaction to the anger?
My reaction to the anger.
Yeah.
It's really my reaction.
That's a good question.
That's literally it.
Because I know I'm gonna get mad.
That's because
It's normal. It's normal for you to feel emotion.
I have difficult a lot of times navigating through emotion, which is why I use a lot of metaphors and symbols because I feel things like, well, it feels like such and such. That's how I describe my emotions. So other people's emotions is way more foreign to me, right? So that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, does your anger no longer exist? Did it hurt you, or just your submission to the anger and what it was calling for at the time hurt you? And now, since you experienced this level of peace, now your anger still has a voice, but it's a voice that navigates you towards relief and peaceful transitioning from the anger.
Well, to be honest, I have to release this one. Of course, I really do. And I try right now. I do activities. It could be boxing. It could be the gym. It could be running. However it is, I'm releasing.
A lot of sex.
Anything.
Why did I think the
Meditation.
Meditation as well. You know, you have to release it.
I think beating is a form of meditation.
It's an art.
Yeah, it's an art.
It's an art. It's a great
Oh,
art.
you heard this.
You're transferring energy.
It's so true. So true.
I don't want to go in there and I'm already pissed at her for no reason. It's like, yo, I'm gonna get this out. What do you mean you gotta get out? What are you talking about? It's like shit.
No, honestly, I think
angry more often.
I think that's actually beautiful, bro. Because it breaks kind of like that I guess the paradigm of how death is looked at. And at the end of the day, we literally all don't even know if it means the end, if it's a new beginning, what it means at all. But I guess, like you said, bro, you submitted to it at the time when you felt like you had no control, no say so, and you were fine with it.
I went from scared to feeling a lot of emotions to emotionless, to being very emotionless to peace. All in like a split of like 10 seconds.
That's beautiful.
It's
I actually take from that lesson. Like I feel like I learned from you almost. You passing that on to me, you know what I mean?
That's actually a lesson in submission, actually.
That's another conversation.
You submitted to something that was happening to you, and you were liberated. And so it ties into kind of like feeling free. Like now you're no longer burdened with life impositions. And now you can just let out your last breath and just be.
And just be.
And I actually saw something that said death is the ultimate testament of love. Whereas now your body and mind now, without resistance, without anything hindering it, to just be given back to the earth and given back to the world. So all your energy, your body's feeding the earth. Could be food for some insects and whatever, and you're actually giving yourself away without any need for reciprocity.
One thing for sure, I feel like,
I'm not promoting.
No.
That. In Kemetic culture like that, learning about the ancient Egyptians, man, like
there was something so beautiful about death. You know what I mean? There was so much information. Not to say that like, oh, you know what I mean? I'm just saying like, when you look into how they did their mummification, their burials, it's something so far more beautiful than what we have today. You know what I mean? And you're able to learn so much more about your ancestors after death. It's just like our perception of death is just it's so much negativity on this side. You know what I mean? But once you go back into that into the African way of looking about that, man, it's like you learn so much interesting things about it.
Hear me. Yeah, no, guys, I appreciate you guys for kind of sharing your knowledge and I guess your experience, what you've learned through, navigating this route and whatnot. I mean, some powerful brothers. Everybody got something good going for them right now, man. It's just cool to see that we could come together and I guess discuss, become a little bit combative with how we're approaching, our perspectives kind of colliding together without being destructive and anything. We kind of like built. Tonight. It was a good build, you know what I mean? I appreciate you guys because this is literally what I need the audacity to be, I guess, standing up for. You know what I mean? Yeah, so appreciate you guys, man. That's a wrap. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, man. So appreciate you guys, man. Salute.
Stay tuned.
Peace and black power. You know what I mean?
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.